Much more to hear about Rabbi Stolman. She is here this evening. Everything is fine with Cantor Nelson, her youngest of the two twins. Actually, I don't know which one is older or younger. Will be married tomorrow night. So they are doing a special simcha together as a family this evening. And so Rabbi Stolman is joining me on the bima. We are also joined in the sanctuary by Brian Kellert, our Director of Lifelong Learning. Everton Diaz is running our IT. Maria Ayerbe is in the sound booth. And all of you in the sanctuary you can see on screen. And all of you on screen, we can see you in the sanctuary. So I just want to thank Brian Leslie for these stunning flowers on the bima. They smell amazing. And it's almost like you're here, Brian, just like on Purim when we got to see you. So we are going to begin with the opening nigun, Hine Matov, with no words.
Lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai 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 lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai lai, ya lai lai
So we welcome everyone to Shabbat. Matthew is applauding, and that is exactly the kind of ruach, spirit that we want. Matthew, you have been at Temple more in the last 2 weeks than most Jews have been. So we wish Shabbat Shalom to Reagan and to Matthew and to Lee, to Mark and to Melissa, to Brian, Paula, Yvonne, to Jose, and I just did it again, Jose, and to... why am I doing this? This is just very embarrassing. To Susan and also to was almost your birthday. When was your birthday? No, wasn't it just Jose's birthday, wasn't it? Sunday, that's what I thought. And sir, would you like to share your name? Jose's husband of gorgeousness? Jim Acera. It's wonderful to have Jim Acera. But also I want to wish Shabbat Shalom to Brian Leslie, to Judy, to Richard Lee, to my parents and my grandparents, to Wendy Salzberg, to Linda Searles, and to all of you on Zoom, on YouTube, and on our Boxcast. We wish you all a Shabbat Shalom as we continue with our opening song with words. We continue with Hine Matov, page 10.
Hine Matov, u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine Matov, u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Matov, u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad. Hine Matov, u'manayim sheverachim gam yachad.
We turn now as a congregation to page 2 as we kindle these lights of Shabbat. I realize that Miami-Dade schools went on spring break today, and I have a feeling that is where a lot of our families and kids are enjoying some well-deserved time off as we approach 2 years in the pandemic. I think it has been a long time since some normalcy. We join together on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. We continue together in English on page 3. I invite you to join me in the reading at the top of the page. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Amen. We now transition into Kabbalat Shabbat. We'll be starting with Yedid Nefesh, What a Soul We Have Been Given, page 10, followed by Shir Chadash, page 13, and Lachadodi.
Yedid Nefesh of Harachman, Yedid Nefesh of Harachman, Meshochatecha, Eretz Onecha, Meshochatecha, Yelai lai 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 lai, Eretz Onecha, Yarut Zadecha, Kemo haya, Yishtachave yai lai, El Muhadacha. Yedid Nefesh of Harachman, Yedid Nefesh of Harachman, Meshochatecha, Eretz Onecha, Meshochatecha, Yelai lai 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 lai, Eretz Onecha.
So before we go into the next song, I am going to be very transparent. There are 4 people in the waiting room, Maria, and we do not see them on our screen to let them in. I don't know if we are on the correct Zoom page or not, but I am getting so many fun texts on the Bima. Let me in. I want services. So if Brian, Everton, Maria, if you guys can work on that, we will continue with services as we join together in Shir Chadash, page 13.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Join me. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai
Careful, Matthew.
shir chadash. One more for our dancers. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash.
Nice singing. We're going to join together now. Tell them page 20. Page 20, exactly. As we join in the words of Lecha Dodi, we're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to 9, we're going to rise. So, Brian, I'm still getting a few different texts, so hopefully we can get them in. And we'll join together in Lecha Dodi, page 20. have been joined by so many more. We figured out what was wrong. We have fixed it, and we are glad to have those 20 people jump on that were in the waiting room. I hope you enjoyed the waiting room, and we are glad to have you here. But I will do some brief intros again, because I think many people are like, who is that? And it is my pleasure. This evening, I'm joined on the bima by Rabbi Melissa Stolman. Before Rabbi and I were rabbis, we were roommates in Israel for our birthright trip. Both of us had been accepted to rabbinical school but had not started. And in fact, the multiple month difference between our ages allowed Rabbi Stolman to be my madracha, my counselor. And then they let us both be rabbis, and we couldn't figure it out. It was just pretty wonderful. We have gone to camp together, and now we are sharing the bima this evening. Again, Cantor Nelson is very healthy and all is great. She is with her family this weekend. Her daughter Leah will be called under the chuppah tomorrow evening for her wedding. I took her and her fiance. We did the ufruf last week, and this morning we did mikvah at the ocean. So she is all ritually prepared for her wedding tomorrow night, and Cantor sends her best to all of you and your families. We are joined on IT by Everton Diaz. Please do not judge your time in the waiting room on Everton. We had set his computer up not as host. In the sound booth by Maria Ayerbe, Brian Keller is representing our senior staff as Director of Lifelong Learning, and representing our custodial team, the world traveler, Jeannie Bernard, is joining us. So you got applause. We did not get applause, Jeannie, but you got applause. Pat Seymour is also in good health. Because Rabbi Stolman's on her guitar, Pat is taking the evening off. And I have a feeling as I look at Tanta's sweatshirt, he is a Michigan fan, but at 9:40 we will be watching Michigan State play this evening. I don't know who's on your bracket, but they're going all the way in my NCAA men's bracket, which they won't. So we are going to continue now as we move from Kabbalat Shabbat into the rest of our service. I invite you to join me in an English reading that you can find in your prayer books on page 29. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthest most star. We yearn to reach you, and we seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. O let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and the joy of your presence. Amen. We join now one page prior, page 28. I invite the congregation to please rise if you are able. The words of the Baruch Hu as we face towards the ark.
Listening to my prayer. Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
You may be seated as we turn to page 30. The sanctuary becomes more full, as does the screen, as do our hearts, as we move into our prayer that invites the evening to come on safely and to allow us to lay down in our beds and rise up again tomorrow morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokhmah poteach she'arim, ובבינה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרתם ברקיע כרצונו. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Amen. We continue on page 32 with the singing of Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Alkeinu Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu u'kumenu natziach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'yorech yameinu, u'vahem neged yomam v'layla, neged yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael.
I invite the congregation to please rise. If you are able, we join in one voice on page 34 and 35 with the words of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
You may be seated if it's your custom. We continue with the chanting of the Ve'ahavta, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzadecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam b'levanecha v'dibarta ba'am, v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'lechtecha b'derech u'shokbecha u'vkumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha, leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet.
Carla and Enrique, that was some magic. You were on the screen and then you just walked in the sanctuary. I don't know how that happened, but Lee also does that magic sometimes. It is good to have you. Shabbat Shalom. I'm going to ask, let's see, Haley and Jesse and Laura to come up here as we turn to page 39. They will lead us in this English reading on the top of the page. Oh, Jesse. Hi. You guys can each take a paragraph. By paragraph, I mean sentence. Do you want to start, Haley?
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught. Before ever we stood on that silent foot.
Good job. Go ahead, Jess.
Wherever we go, it is entirely easy.
Help her out.
There is a better place, a promised land. Like the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness.
Perfect. Laura.
That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies. As we often talk about, we teach our religious school kids that this is not a performance and that they are helping to lead our congregation. So no, they did not know they were coming up, and they still read beautifully. So thank you, guys. We continue now with the words of Micha Mocha on page 40.
Yai, lai, 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 lai,
Ya ba 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya ba 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 bim bam.
Yehi chamocha
Baili Madonai,
Yehi chamocha
Nedar Bakodesh,
Norati lo
Osefele,
Norati lo osefele. Yai, lai, 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 lai.
Ya ba 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya la 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 la, ya ba 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 bim bam. We're going to continue on page 41 at the top of the page. Sing the song of men and of women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles in an earth protected and cherished. A gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. This world ravaged by war is very much the world that we are living in right now. And although we may not see it, thank God, when we open our doors, when we turn on our TVs or turn on the radio, it is there and it is real. And it takes a lot of prayer on our part to make a difference. And yet I wonder, and I don't know if you do, we talked about this last week in services, what do our prayers actually do? And the fact is, if we don't pray, it does nothing. But by joining in prayer, by joining in these songs of freedom, maybe it heightens our awareness to there could be more for us to do, and when it is brought to our attention, we will go out and do it. As we continue to send money and food, I heard people are buying Airbnbs in the Ukraine so that money is being infused into those people's economy and into their pockets. We also cannot forget about those in our own backyard who are in need of help, those who are food insecure, who are shelter insecure. We have our bin at the back of the sanctuary, but we also have so many opportunities to serve with our hands and our feet in doing gimilut chasadim, acts of loving kindness through our tzedakah. We teach the kids it means good deeds, but it means so much more. It means our hearts turning towards that which our intentions fill with life. It means doing things that make us know that we are responsible for one another. And so as we join together in this prayer of shelter on page 43, let us be reminded that as long as there are still people enslaved, still people who feel unsafe when they go to sleep, that we must always actively fight towards their freedom, their shelter, and their sense of shalem, of completeness. Hashkivenu, page 43.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom. לשלום, להעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
We continue now on page 45 with Reagan leading us in the reading of his choice on that page. Oh, hold on. Mic did not work for the ladies. Either one.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable, without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time.
Thank you, Reagan. And it does. 75 years ago, the Shoah, and now we think about the world that we live in, it's not such far past history. And so we think of our ancestors and those who came before us. As we rise as a congregation, we turn to the Amidah HaTefillah, which begins on page 46. I invite you to face east towards Jerusalem. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftachu fi Tehillah. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Gela Livneihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol atah Rav leHoshia, Mashiv HaRuach u'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim bechesed, Mechayei HaKol be'rachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umekayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'aman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated. We move into our moments of gratitude. There are so many things to be grateful for besides a full screen and a full sanctuary. I'll call this full in rabbinic terms. We are, Paul can't believe it. We have so much to be grateful for. So I'm going to invite you once Reagan logs on to share that you're grateful for on screen. And we will share in the sanctuary what everyone is grateful for. I miss hearing from you guys. So I am going to go back a little bit to what my style of doing it, at least this week, and ask you what you're grateful for in the sanctuary. And I'll repeat it so those at home, thank you, Reagan, can hear you because you are not mic'd. So does anyone have a moment of gratitude to share with us? Yes, Mark Nedlin. Amen. Paula Xanthopoulou is back from the frozen chosen of Canada, and Mark is grateful she has returned. And Paula's grateful to be back. Yes, Lee. Thank you. Lee said he's grateful to see his youngest son, Matthew, dancing on the bima and feeling so comfortable here. And I'll leave the rest of it out. As you can see in your booklets, kids are praying the way that they know how, just like adults are. Exactly, as you are. So it's great to have Reagan and Matthew here. And then last week we also had Samantha, which was wonderful. Any other moments of gratitude? Yes, Haley. Grateful for school. Yes, and I know that Haley and Jesse shared online that they have gotten into their schools, and lots of people are starting to get into schools that focus their attention towards their passions. Yes, Jim. Amazing. So Jim doesn't like to talk shop on Shabbat, but he had his performance review at work, and it was excellent. And I'm glad they see how incredible you are, Jim, because I can imagine the way you show up at work is just how you show up at Temple, which is fully present. Any other moments of gratitude? Yes, Susan. So I love that you said something about peace and not war, but I can't hear exactly the beginning. One more time? You're grateful about what? One more time? Yes. Thank God. So Susan added that she's grateful we live in a country where we can be free, where there is not fighting and war. Absolutely. Yes. Anyone else? Yes, Melissa. Amazing. So Melissa's kids, who we have yet to meet but would love to meet, are doing great, and our people are noticing how wonderfully they are doing at school and getting scholarships because of it, and that is amazing. It is very expensive to be an educated person, unfortunately, in this country, and it keeps plaguing us for generations to come in terms of debt. So as much as you can get credit for how amazing that you are, the better we are off in this world. Okay, online. Let's see. Everton, can you scroll up a little bit, please? Whoa, whoa, a lot of gratitude, long gratitudes. Okay, go down. Franny is grateful for a few days unplugged and listening to the ocean. Raziel, great to have you back. I'm grateful that our loved ones are always with us, whether physically or in spirit. Richard Lee is grateful for a new baby granddaughter born 18 days ago to my daughter in Coral Springs. Richard, send us a picture so that we can send out an e-blast. We would love to see that. Send it to Brian after Shabbat. Reagan, I'm grateful for my dad because he's so nice and takes care of me whenever I need it. I'm also grateful for my brother and my sister, my PC desk, cat, Malibu, oxygen, my food, my school, Rabbi and Cantor, and Rabbi Stolman, my house, and waking up every day. Also my Aunt Cecile, because I love her so much. And your nanny, right, Lily? Yes, added in. Okay, I don't know who that is. Okay, Sarah Leviton, I'm grateful that I was able to go to Alan Mason's FIU class about composers born in March. It was Alan's birthday. I'm really grateful that Jeannie has agreed to go to Chicago with me as my helper because my nurse's aides can't go, and I'll be able to celebrate my first cousin's 80th birthday. Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you, Sarah. Nancy Feldman, I see you chilling out in bed. Grateful that things are seeming back to normal in our neighborhood. So thankful that we have freedom of speech. Yes, and our best to art as well. Brian Leslie, grateful for my welcoming TI family, and Reagan, of course, my nanny, because I love her so much, and Pat and Maria, in absentia, of course, for Pat, but Maria is here. There's so much to be grateful for, and really, the more that we can put it out in the world and tell each other, it's actually what I believe prayer is about. So as we give gratitude to that and who creates all of this for us, I invite you to turn to page 58 as we join in the Chatimah together in Hebrew at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ucha na'eh lahodot. Amen. We are going to take some time now for Tefillat Halev, the prayer of our hearts. I remind you almost every week, and yet I feel people sometimes still don't hear it. The prayer book was never there for us to check off each page that we got through it. It was there as a jumping off point. So please let the permission you did not need from me grant you the availability to just tune out the prayer book and tune into your hearts and your minds as we take some time for silent meditation. Immediately following, we will join in the words of Oseh Shalom, silent prayer.
Shalom, Bimromav. Oseh Shalom, Bimromav. Hu yaseh Shalom. Hu yaseh Shalom. Hu yaseh Shalom. Aleinu.
1, 2, 3, 4.
May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Bimromav. Oh, say shalom. Bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who brings peace, bring peace down, bring peace down.
Great version. Jagoda, right?
Yes, I love it.
Beautiful. So this week's Torah portion, you can go ahead and take a seat, Melissa. It must be nice to be a rabbi, who doesn't have to give a sermon every Shabbat. But I am excited to give a sermon. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Tzav. We are moving into the book of Leviticus. Obviously, as we keep going, we hear all about the laws and the rules and the entrails and blood and gross parts that are just a lot. So I thought that we would talk about Purim because that feels, we're going to get to this tomorrow. And if you want to discuss all of this and Aaron and his sons becoming priests, which is amazing, we'll talk about it tomorrow at Joseph's table. But tonight I want to talk about this idea that we somewhat skim over by making satirical performances of the story of Purim. There are great ways in which Judaism allows our faith to become, more approachable. And one of those ways is through Purim spiels, right? On Wednesday night, Brian and Cantor wrote an incredible satirical look at the story of Purim through different songs and the venue, I guess, of The Voice. But I thought about if I was Ezra or if I was anybody watching and hadn't had that discussion with what Purim was about since I was in Sunday school, and realized that there are a few different very important things to talk about that we don't shine a light on necessarily during the retelling of Purim. We know the characters, we know their names, we know when you hear the H name, you make the noise to blot it out. We know that it was about anti-Semitism in Persia. We know that anti-Semitism obviously is still very much around today. But there's a component of the story that I really want to focus on. And it comes so true in my head when I was going through my Facebook feed yesterday, explaining why it looked like Halloween for all of my friends that were Jewish. As you go through the pages, you see kids dressed up, you see parades, you see makeup and costumes, and so much joy. And I was trying to wrap my head around the difference between Halloween and Purim, and really, it's huge. The only similarity is actually the costumes. And so I asked Ezra, why do you dress up on Halloween? And Ezra said, well, because it's fun, and I get to be something that I'm not. And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, you know what? I think that is how we've looked at Purim in modern liberal synagogues. We make it fun, and we get to learn or dress up about something that we're not. I was a hot dog, point being. But the idea that I have been thinking about, and this year when I read the Torah, the Megillah, I'm thinking about this even more so, is the notion of wearing a costume, of wearing a mask, of not being truly ourselves. This notion that I actually think we do better at Temple Israel in the ways that we don't wear masks than a lot of places do, in the way that we celebrate as you are. And we really mean it, and I do really mean that we can walk in how we want, whether it's on Shabbat or any other time, and that we're not just dealt with, we're not just appeased, but we're celebrated. But I was thinking about this notion that even in those celebrations, we all, to some extent, at some points in our lives and in many different venues throughout our days and our weeks, are wearing costumes and masks when we interact with certain people in certain ways. How we show up at work, is that really who we are? Is the mask gone? How we show up to our kids, our spouse, our partners. How we show up when we're stuck in traffic and someone cuts us off. How we show up when we pull up next to a homeless person. How we show up seems that we are veiled far more than is necessarily obvious to each one of us. And since Wednesday night, I've been trying to be aware of how often I show up veiled. I'm not outing something that isn't, I think, universal for all of us. But I will make myself an example in this situation. There is so much value attached to people's perceptions of how you show up in the world. So much value attached to the perception of this mask or that mask, of this title, of this place that you show up. In fact, I would say, and I have been taught, that sometimes perceptions matter more than truth. What a slap in the face. A slap in the face without a costume on. That sometimes if we were to show up with a mask on, that maybe it would be better for us in this world. Because maybe it wouldn't hurt so much that when we remove the mask and get all of this thrown at us, that we would have some sort of protection there to say, but that wasn't really me. I don't know if this is sitting with any of you, but it makes me think about how sometimes masks help us get through the world. And sometimes they say, when I was working with the teens, I said, when you get to college, that you just have to get to college, and then you can choose your friends. You don't have to deal with the lunchroom ridiculousness. You don't have to deal with the favoritism and the bullying. And then I realized, at college, what you get to do is try on a different mask. You get to switch masks. Maybe people never knew you prior to that. You get to try on different outfits, different personas, different interests. But then I was thinking, well, where do you go after college? Maybe grad school, maybe you start a family, maybe you go into the workforce. Do you just trade your costume, just trade your mask, or are you then free to take off your mask or costume? And then post that and you start a family, or you don't, or you choose the friends as your family, or you keep moving on in different stages of your life. At what point do we say, I'm taking the mask off? At what point do we show up like Esther and just say, I'm a Jew? At what point do we say, yes, perception matters, but authenticity and truly being created in God's image, the way I show up, also matters? I'm not sure. I can tell you there's less times in my life and maybe in yours where it feels safe to just show up. And I'm being very vulnerable and honest with you. There's a lot more times when it's great to walk in a room and know what title you hold, what name, what place in that group, how you show up in your family, who you are at work, how you are great at managing relationships. But then I want you to think about those people that see you with no masks. God, what a gift those people are to us. Think about in your head right now, who sees you with no mask? Mark, I'm going to call you out. Your grandma saw you with no mask. And you talk about her in such a beautiful way because I think she saw you. So I want all of us to have people to see us. Don't yell out and sorry, Mark, that I did that to you, but I think about it all the time. My grandma saw me with no mask, sees me with no mask. Our loved ones see us, hopefully, with no masks. God, it has to be a balance. Because when those people are no longer around, or when they no longer take up real estate in your conscience, and you allow other people to decide that their perception of you is actually who you are, I think we lose sight of who we actually are. We lose footing, we lose grounding, and I can tell you, it knocks me right off my chair. We are real people, all of us. We have flaws, and we have things to celebrate. And no matter what someone else's perception is of you, at the end, the Talmud tells us we walk in front of God, and God says to us, were you like yourself, or were you trying to be something else? I'm worried that we're all a little bit trying to be something else. Maybe not someone else, maybe not through envy or anything negative, but maybe sometimes it's just easier to be what other people already decided you are. That's a loss. There's a rabbi, and I quote this on so many birthday cards, Rabbi from Bratslav, what am I thinking? Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. And he says, the day that you were born is the day that God decided the world cannot exist without you. That doesn't mean the perception of you. That means you. That means how we were created. What a missed opportunity. If our one chance for being in this world is to be ourselves, and then we aren't. I know perception is always going to be present, and frankly, I know very clearly how much it actually overrides a lot of who people really are. But the more we can try to be curious as to who is behind those masks, the more that we can try to be open-minded as to how someone shows up might be their real self, that maybe we'll have more empathy for this world, more compassion for each other, and maybe a little more space to let people be free to be who they are, who they were meant to be, not who we want them to be. The story of Purim, I believe, is extremely relevant to our day and age. We wear masks by choice, but I'm so concerned that we also wear them as a form of protection. And I just wish for each of you this Shabbat that there can be a few moments where you take that mask off. You reintroduce who you truly are to those you love, and you let them see the vulnerable side of who you are. Because I truly believe that is how we were created, B'Tselem Elohim. Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to sing Ani Ve'ata. It's about how you and I will change the world. It fits Rabbi Morrison's message so beautifully. Ani Ve'ata נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם, את העולם, את העולם.
We continue now in our service as we move into our prayers for healing, our prayers that ask God to, in the best of God's ability, complete ourselves, to make us shalem. Shalem in a sense of physical and of spiritual and emotional, a sense that we feel whole, even if our bodies are failing us, even if our minds, if our spirits are failing us. This prayer reminds us that we can still be whole with parts of us broken. So I invite you at home to enter the names that you're thinking of for Misha Berach, and I'll ask for those names in the sanctuary, and in a moment we will join on page 253. Any names for healing in the sanctuary? Rabbi? Thank you. Thank you. Carla Enrique? Carlos? Thank you. With all those names in the chat as well, Sarah, thank you for adding all those names too, and Alice. We join again, we're on page 253, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Nishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
I invite the congregation to please rise as we turn to page 282 for the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. We open the ark.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gedula yotzer v'reshit, shelo asanu ki goyei haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומשה ויקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, מלכנו אפס וזולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who are no longer with us physically, but who are with us so much every day in how we live our lives and how we choose to spend our time, and to remove our veils in a way that only they could see us. So I invite you to enter the names into chat of those who you are saying Kaddish for, and in a moment I'll ask for the names in the sanctuary after I read our congregational list. We are still observing Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning for the family of Barry Dubowski. And we are observing Kaddish, the Yartzeit, the anniversary of the deaths for the following people: David Ben Omri, Ronnie W. Vermont, Jacob Bernstein, Bernard Burkhan, Faye Brown, Elizabeth Cashman Malchason, Jacob Roy Chaikin, Molka Riva Cohen, David Kulik, Daryl Daniels, Rebecca Davis, Christopher Jason Dobb, Helen Dritz, Irving M. Ellis, Deborah Epstein, Serene Feldman, Esther Feldman, Simon Fisher, Saul Harrison Friedman, Miguel Garcia, Vivian Berger Giller, Rhea Cashman Gladwin, Flora Goldhagen, Abraham Goldman, Ruth Goldweber, Edward Gross, Daniel Handel, Jacob Hoffman, Etta K. Homa, Rose Kahn, Sylvester M. Kahn, Rachel Canner, Sam Elmer Katz, Samuel Kamenker, Marcia W. Klinkenstein, Jack Levine, Francis M. Levy, Ann K. Levy, Herman Lubschutz, Lillian Moss, Gloria Pallett, Edward L. Rosenthal, Harris Ruskin, Louis A. Samuels, Harry Sands, Harry Schillinger, Albert Seiden, Bessie R. Steinberg, Ada Marshall Stifel, Jacques D. Swide, Martin Unger, Patricia Weinberg, and Riza Whitelaw. If I said your loved one's name incorrectly or you'd like to add additional names, I ask you to do so at this time. So I invite the congregation to please rise as we join all our torn hearts to try and form one a little more complete. Page 294, we think of all those who have lost their lives in Ukraine, in Russia, the 6 million who lost their lives in the Holocaust and in genocides around the world. Yitzgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, b'alma divrach herutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabba Mivarach Leolam Omeo Maya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing and a lesson for how we live our lives, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated. Tomorrow morning, I hope that you will join me as I rant Rabbi Cantor tomorrow at 10 a.m. For Minyan. You can't handle it tonight. I do the whole thing tomorrow, I'm excited, with Pat, and then at 11:30 we will join together for Torah study at Joseph's Table. We will be up in the boardroom this week. Thank God we had such a robust crew last week that we have outgrown the library lounge, and so we'll be up in the boardroom with the owl. So if you are joining us remotely, you will still be able to participate from the boardroom at home. Also, there are no Sunday school or Hebrew school classes this week as we are on spring break, so congratulations to our students on spring break. We will return the following Sunday and Tuesday, back to our classrooms on Sunday and remote on Tuesday. Also, our adult education classes this week are on hiatus for spring break. We follow the Miami-Dade calendar, so there is no adult B'nai Mitzvah class Monday. I actually do think there may be a Jewish voice. We'll have to see what Cantor says. I don't know. Dr. Alan Mason's class will be on hiatus, and any other adult ed classes, it's listed in the e-blast, will also be on hiatus. We'll be on vacation this week. So I want to, before we go on any further, I want to take a second to thank my friend and colleague, Rabbi Melissa Stolman, who it is just an honor to share the bima with.
So happy to be
And she's
here.
a lot of fun off the bima also, so I can't wait to hang out as we bring us to the conclusion of Shabbat with the singing of Gesher Tsar Ma'od. Is that what we're closing with? Yes. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, but the most important part is not to be afraid. And I'm going to add my own little comment to that as a rabbi. If you're afraid, you can also be brave and do it anyways. And so as we cross this bridge together, Rabbi, thank you so much for being here this evening. And Maria, Jeannie, Everton, Brian, and all of you here and on screen, thank you. We will do the closing song, and then we will join in Kiddush and Motzi. Gesher Tsar Ma'od.
Page 339. And I didn't know you were going to bring up Rabbi Nachman of Bretzlav, so this is even more timely. Who
More
said
timely.
this? Kol haolam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol haolam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od.
Hey. Join together in Kiddush on page 4. Vayher vayivoker yom hashishi, vayachulu hashamayim ve'aretz, ve'achol tzivam, vayachol Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mechol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i, v'yakadesh oto, ki vo shavad mechol melachto,
asher bara Elohim la'asot savri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta michol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai. This is why I did Kaddish. V'kadesh HaShabbat, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. That is why you did not get to do Kiddush. We join together. Ooh, Jeannie, it got connected. We join together in the words of Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We join together in reprise of Gesher Tsar Me'od. I invite you to please rise immediately following services. If you will go down the back, out the back, but down the stairs to Oneg to go outside. Kol haolam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Kol haolam kulo, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefached, lo lefached, v'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefached. Lai, 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 you can do this. Lai, 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 one more, v'ha'ikar, 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 lo lefached, lo lefached klal, v'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal. Awesome. Shabbat Shalom. I hope that you will all join us next week for our next Lev of Legends hosted by the Sisterhood as part of our centennial programming. And I hope that you are all RSVPing to our gala.